So I've said on this channel many times that I feel like Surface Duo, and in particular Surface Duo 2, have come a really long way in terms of, well, pretty much everything. Performance, camera performance, the bugs in particular, and that is kind of the topic of this video. Because while I have said many times that the bugs are greatly improved, there are still some bugs left. So what I want to do in this video is I'm going to bring special attention to those handful of bugs that irritate me the most. So this is basically that. A few bugs that Surface Duo 2 still does that irritate me, and it'll kind of give you some context of what we're talking about when we say Duo 2 still has some bugs. How many are there? How severe are they? How obstructive might they be? And how common are they? Spoiler alert to the end of this video, but they're not that bad. It really doesn't get that much in the way. But if I'm going to say any bugs that do bother me, these are going to be the ones. So the first one is the widget panel. Here's my desktop. If I go over to this side here, you will see a list of widgets that I use. One that frees up RAM, one that helps me track how many fluids I've drank for the day. Actually need to add on 12 more ounces there because I'm doing very well on my hydration today. Anyways, sometimes you scroll over to these widgets, and instead of the widgets, I'm greeted by squares with the title of the widget, but no actual widget there. That is a little bit annoying. Now the good news is, to fix this, all I have to do is click on the settings cog and then go back again and everything's fine. Not a huge deal, but it's a little bit annoying. That's kind of going to be the theme of this video. Not a huge deal, a little bit annoying. This next one is also pretty uncommon. It seems to be getting less common for me, but it is still really strange when it happens. This is what will occur sometimes. Let's say I've opened up Twitter, and let's say I'm doing something in Twitter, and maybe it seems to happen when something is like really heavily loading in the app. And I go to touch something, like let's say I'm going to touch on this tweet. Every now and again, what will instead happen is rather than clicking on the tweet, I will click on my photo behind the tweet and open up Google Photos. Sometimes I'm able to actually interact with my launcher through the app that is on screen. Again, okay, photos pop up, I swipe up to go home, and I go back to what I was doing. It's about a half a second worth of inconvenience. It's strange. It's a little bit jarring when it happens. Not super common, but it does happen. So this next one is not one I can actually demonstrate or show you, but maybe you've seen it yourself. After maybe 2 or 3 days of using Surface Duo without a reboot, you'll be doing something and the whole thing will just grind to a halt. You'll just stutter and it's like, you just can't do anything. And you can swipe up and clear your open apps. You can use a widget like I have over here to free up RAM and to clear cache. And that seems like that will temporarily help, but pretty soon it's going to do it again and again and again. And the only way to fix it is to just reboot. Now, good news is this thing reboots quickly and then you're back into whatever you're doing. You're maybe a minute, 2 minutes away from being back to what you were doing. And again, it only happens every few days, but that does happen. There seems to be something going on. I don't know what it is, because it's not a RAM leak, because you can get your RAM back, but there's something going on that this thing just needs to be rebooted every few days to stop lagging. Now, once you reboot, like I said, you're good for multiple days, and it's going to be quick, and everything's going to be fine. I don't know if it's a particular app that's causing this, or if it's a system thing. I don't know, but it happens to me. What about the black screen bug? Now, luckily, I don't get this very often on mine, but I see it enough in my comments that I felt like it was worth mentioning. So with Surface Duo, when you go from book mode to phone mode, the thing has to actually make that decision to turn off one of the screens. And when it does this, you'll see back here, it says double tap to switch screens. And you can actually tap on that and switch which screen is actually going to be the one you're using in phone mode. Now, the problem here, and the thing that I see people talk about, and the thing that I had happen to me quite a bit with my original Surface Duo in particular, when I was using the bumper, strangely enough, is that you'll be in book mode and one screen will shut off and show the double tap to switch screens thing. So you just basically have a book with only one side. You lose that one screen. Now, typically, all you have to do is just kind of do something like that a couple times and it'll probably fix itself. And usually when I see it, it'll flash and then it'll immediately go away. This might happen to me maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and I use my phone quite a bit. So for me, not all that common, but again, I see you guys talk about it quite a bit, so we're going to mention it here. This next one may be specific to me. I don't know if it's a carrier thing or what, but I use Phone Link all the time. So I've got my monitor here and Phone Link over here, and I will respond to text messages over here on Phone Link. Now, occasionally, in particular when I'm sending an image, a multimedia type thing, which I do quite a bit because I'll actually see something. I'll use the Windows Shift S to snip a bit of a picture and then paste it into Phone Link and send it off in a text message. What'll happen is it'll just sit there sending forever, sending, and then eventually it will fail. You'll hit retry, it'll fail again. And it just acts really dumb sometimes. And then finally it'll send, but then my recipient will say, why did you send that to me 4 times? I'm like, I didn't. It only shows me once. Said it didn't send, hit retry a couple times, and then they got all of them. And that's a little bit annoying, a little bit embarrassing. And that's kind of annoying. It makes me not want to send MMS messages. That's a bit redundant on Phone Link. And the last one that kind of drives me crazy, this one has probably made me more angry over time than pretty much any other one. It involves the keyboard, which, by the way, I think the keyboard is much better than it was before. But what will happen is this. We're typing something, right? Let's say we're in a text message and we've typed our message and then we're done. So what we're going to do is we're going to swipe up to go home. What happens to me there with some regularity is that I wind up with that text field for that text message being there with a space in it. So instead of just being blank, there's a space, and the text message just shows it as a draft. Now, the good news is this has gotten a ton better. It used to happen literally anytime I'd go home with the keyboard on screen, to the point that I just got in the habit of swiping to go back to close the keyboard and then going home. I just got it in my head that I got to do 2 things to go home when I'm finished typing something in a text message. The good news is it has improved quite a bit, whereas before it was like 100% of the time. Now it's only probably like 10-20% of the time that still happens. It didn't happen ever on other phones that I've used. So still not perfect, still happens occasionally. That one would drive me crazy. My OCD does not allow me to have in my text messages a text with a draft that is not really a draft. It is only a space. So I have to go in it, and I got to delete the space, swipe back to kill the keyboard, and then go home, or else I won't be able to rest at ease at all. So there you go, guys. There's a handful of bugs that still bother me a bit on my Surface Duo 2. I think you can get the context here, though, that none of these are all that serious. The worst one is probably having to reboot every few days, because that one, when it does happen, it always seems to happen at the worst time, where you're like, I really don't want to reboot right now, but it is what it is. You got to do it. It's probably the worst one. The rest of these are fairly minor. Let me know what you experienced, though, in the comments down below. Some of you have had worse. Some of you have had better. I'd love to hear from all of you. We have a confirmation bias, right, where the people that talk are the people with bugs. I see this said a lot. People say, well, look at the subreddit for this phone or that phone. It's all bugs. Right, because the person that's not having any problems has no reason to go on the subreddit to make a post to say, my device has no problems. In fact, if you do that, you'll probably get downvoted. But I would actually like to hear from some of you that have had no problems. Drop a comment if your device has been about like mine, pretty solid, a few little bugs here and there. I actually would like to hear from you, just maybe to prove the point that it's not all bad. At any rate, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.